into it, right? All right, so I just have a few things. I just jotted down a few things, and not too many days this time. But all right, let me start. Now that Tina's here, it just so happened that this worked out. I don't know why, but it worked out. All right, so September 9th, 1960, the Denver Broncos beat the Boston Patriots, because that's who they were before, all the up changes. But anyway, the Denver Broncos beat Boston Patriots 13-10 in the American Football League's first game in front of 21,597 fans at Nickerson Field in Boston. This is also Boston's the first time that they actually scored a field goal from 35 yards in a game. So again, this was the inaugural beginning of the Denver Broncos. I've talked about it a few times, but there were multiple leagues kind of going on at the same time back in the day before unification, right? And everybody blended into one league. So this was the American Football League, and that's where Denver got its start. September 9th, 1960. September 10th, 1936, the second American Football League played its first game as the Los Angeles Bulldogs, who defeated the Pittsburgh Americans 21-0. The first edition of the AFL operated in 1926. Sometimes it is referred as the Grange League, as the star player Red Grange, C.C. Pio, and General Charles Zimmerman started the league that operated only in one season. The AFL was revived in 1936 and 1937 as a rival to the NFL. They did keep trying to come back in different names and different iterations. They did this for years before the Cleveland Browns did it in the AAFC or when the Miami Dolphins did it in the NFL. So it kind of popped up and off, but they did kind of move around a little bit. September 10, 1937, the Cleveland Rams franchise left the AFL and joined the NFL. And it was on this date that they played their first NFL game. The Detroit Lions defeated the Rams in their NFL debut, 28-0. But the franchise survived, though they started in Cleveland and in the 1940s moved to LA, then to St. Louis, then back to LA. There always have been Rams team in the NFL since its day in 1937. I am sure that Scott appreciates that tidbit. He's a big Rams fan if you're out there watching. All right, September 11th, 1983. Franco Harris becomes the third player in the NFL history to rush for 11,000 career yards or more. Harris's 180 yards in the Pittsburgh Steelers' 25-21 victory at Green Bay Packers put him over that distinctive yardage mark. And a couple more, and then we'll just move on. September 12th, 1976, the Seattle Seahawks played their inaugural regular season game in a loss to St. Louis, 30-24. So again, remember, a lot of these teams kind of came on a little later. September 12th, 1988, the first NFL game. And when we say first NFL, because I know it gets confusing, I mean modern NFL, when both leagues, the American Football League and the National Football League, actually came together under one umbrella and became the NFL. So September 12th, 1988, the very first NFL game is played in Phoenix, Arizona, as the newly transplanted, because remember that the Cardinals came from Chicago, the transplanted Cardinals hosted the Dallas Cowboys. This week 2 matchup was the Monday Night Football game that week. The Cowboys spoiled the party in the desert as they beat the Cardinals 17-14. And then finally, even though this happened a little later, since yesterday, a few days ago, right, we know it was September 11th and we did a commemoration yesterday. But on September 24th, 2001, and I know that's not this date, but it felt important since yesterday was September 11th and there were some commemorations, right? Chris Gizzy leads the Packers onto the field. Memorably, we all remember this, onto the field before a game against Washington. The Green Bay Packers host the first Monday night game after the September 11th terrorist attacks in 2001. Packers coach at the time, Mike Sherman, had an idea. Gizzy, who was a reservist in the Air Force, would lead the team out on the field. He stopped when he got all the way to the south of the end zone waving the flag. I think we all remember that day. It's one of those things that kind of stick with us. So again, didn't exactly happen this day, but I felt like it was important. Because yesterday we do have to remember we love Monday Night Football, but we were commemorating the terrorist attacks, and I feel like it was important to remember that football piece of history when he flew onto the field. I think we all remember that, right? He was waving that flag around and trying to uplift the nation and the country after a terrible, terrible loss and tragedy, just all the trauma we felt. So, all right, that is your, history in the NFL.